Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of That Conspiracy Podcast. I am your host, Randall Stevens. I want to thank you very much for listening. Today on That Conspiracy Podcast, we're going to cover the UFO conspiracy and the Roswell, New Mexico crash of the 1940s. All right, everybody, buckle up. Let's kick it off. UFO conspiracy theories have argued that various governments, politicians, and a certain number of officials in D.C. are suppressing evidence of extraterrestrial, unidentified flying objects and alien visitors. These conspiracy theories commonly argue that the governments of the world, especially and mostly our very own United States of America, are in communication or cooperation with extraterrestrials. The Roswell incident. In 1947, the United States Air Force issued a press release stating that a flying disc had been recovered near Roswell, New Mexico. This press release was quickly withdrawn, and officials stated that a weather balloon had been misidentified. A good old weather balloon. Oops. Who's buying that one? The Roswell case quickly faded from the public attention, and most ufologists poo-pooed it and never really looked into it until the 70s again. Speculation persisted, despite the official denial that an alien spacecraft crashed near Roswell. In the 1990s, the U.S. military published two reports disclosing the true nature of the crashed aircraft. A surveillance balloon from Project Mogul. The Roswell incident continues to be of interest in popular media. Conspiracy theories surrounding the event continue to this day. Roswell has been described as the world's most famous, most exhaustively investigated, and thoroughly debunked UFO claim ever. William Cooper, famed radio host and conspiracy theorist, spoke about the Roswell incident on a regular basis. Let's listen to a quick video about his message on the UFO conspiracy.
I'm going to skip over the early saucer recoveries, but there are many more than what you would expect. The early saucers Is this any better? There were many more saucer crashes and down craft than what you have realized. There were many more alien bodies recovered, and there were more live aliens recovered than what you were aware of. But that's not important. The important thing is that they occurred, not how many and not where. The important thing is that they occurred. And those of you who want to argue over how many and where and how many bodies are wasting the time of everyone else, because that's not important. What's important is that they occurred. And there are two crashes that are so important that the government will go to any lengths to prevent you from finding out. And those are two crashes which occurred near the city of Aztec, New Mexico. Why? because both of those crashed craft contained human body parts. And they are deathly afraid of the national anthem. Because of this, there was a very, very tight security blanket screwed down tight over all of the alien question, the down crafts, the fact that they were here, technology that we were recovering. Some crafts, strangely enough, were not damaged at all. But we could not recognize anything that we had previously known as mechanical, electrical, hydraulic, or any other thing that we knew of, except eventually we discovered that the craft contained a small reactor approximately the size of a large football, a small basketball, which was said to be a clean reactor, and craft, this particular craft, used or seemed to use water as fuel. And how that all works, I don't know. I am not a nuclear physicist. Thank God. A special group of America's top scientists were organized under the name Project Sign in December of 1947 to study the phenomenon. There was no such thing at that time as NJ-12. The whole nasty business was contained within the shroud of secrecy. Project Sign evolved into Project Grudge in December of 1948. A very low-level collection and disinformation project named Blue Book was formed under Grudge. 16 volumes were to come out of Grudge, including the controversial Grudge 13, which I and Billy each saw, read, and reviewed for the public. Blue teams were put together to recover the crashed discs and dead or alive aliens. The blue teams were later to involve with the alpha teams in the Project Pounce and Project Pluto. During these early years, the United States Air Force and the Central Intelligence Agency exercised complete control over the alien secret. The Air Force was later to be dropped because it was a young service that had no political power and could not overcome the power of the Army and the Navy. In fact, the CIA was formed by presidential executive order, first as the Central Intelligence Group, for the express purpose of dealing with the alien presence. Later, the National Security Act was passed, establishing it as the Central Intelligence Agency. The National Security Council was established to oversee the intelligence community and especially the alien endeavor. It was not created specifically to form national policy. In fact, you can say the National Security Council was the forerunner of MJ-12. And there was another group, between MJ-12 and the National Security Council, which is to come later. A series of National Security Council memos and executive orders removed the CIA from the sole task of gathering foreign intelligence and slowly but clearly legalized direct action in the form of covert activities at home and abroad. On December 9, 1947, Truman approved issuance of NSC-4, entitled Coordination of Foreign Intelligence Information Measures, at the urging of Secretaries Marshall, Barstow, Patterson, and the Director of the State Department's Policy Planning Staff, Kennan. By the way, we're all members of the Council on Foreign Relations. Foreign and Military Intelligence Book 1, Final Report of the Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations with Respect to Intelligence Activities, United States Senate, 94th Congress, Second Session, Report Number 94-755, April 26, 1976, page 49 states. This directive empowered the Secretary of State to coordinate overseas information activities designed to counter communism. A top-secret annex to NSC-4, which was NSC-4 Alpha, or 4A, for those of you who are confused by military terms, instructed the Director of Central Intelligence to undertake covert psychological activities in pursuit of the aims set forth in NSC-4, and secretly was to run a psychological operation against the American public to hide the presence of UFO and aliens. The initial authority given the CIA for covert operations under NSC-4A did not establish formal procedures for either coordinating or approving these operations. Many of you understand what I just said to you. Not too many. Let me explain it. What this means, the initial authority given the CIA for covert operations under NSC-4 Alpha did not establish formal procedures for either coordinating or approving these operations. That means they had to answer to no one. It means go do what you got to do. Don't bring any dirt back here, because we don't want to see it. Just get the job. And simply directed the DCI, which is the Director of Central Intelligence, to undertake covert actions and to ensure, through liaison with State and Defense, that the resulting operations were consistent with American policy. The only guideline was that it was consistent with American policy. Later, NSC 10-1 and NSC 10-2 were to supersede NSC 4 and NSC 4A, and NSC 10/1 was to establish the Office of Policy Coordination of the OPC was chartered to carry out an expanded program of covert activities. It was directly responsible for the alien task projects, and it was the direct forerunner of MJ-12. NSC 10-1 and 10-2 validated illegal and extra-legal practices and procedures as being agreeable to the national security leadership. Reaction, of course, was very swift. In the eyes of the intelligence community, no holes were barred. Under NSC 10-1, an executive coordination group was established to review but not approve covert project proposals. Why? Because if you've ever read or known anything about President Truman, he was a mean little guy, and he didn't believe in trusting everybody else to do the right thing, and he kept the power solidly in his hands. He did not give it to anyone.
So that's just a little tiny portion of the William Cooper UFO cover-up. When he's talking about MJ-12, it stands for Majestic 12, which was organization is claimed to be the code name of an alleged secret committee of scientists, military leaders, and government officials formed in 1947 by an executive order by U.S. President Harry S. Truman, who we were just talking about. It's to facilitate recovery and investigation of alien spacecraft. So, very interesting. Another interesting thing is that William Cooper, in one of his last interviews, said he did not believe in the existence of alien life forms. He believed that all that we see is basically black ops with human pilots. The governments are more advanced than they're telling us. That's his belief. It's pretty interesting. He also talks about EB, which was the name of one of the bodies they recovered from one of the flying discs. It's another thing you should look into called EB. EBE. That's the name of it. It was like an ET, I guess. Allegedly. So I myself have never seen a UFO. I know people who think they have, and they tell us that the universe is gigantic. Gigantic. If that is the case, there almost has to be intelligent life forms out there that are interested in us, and they have the technology to visit us. That's something I believe. Even though I've never seen it, I do believe that the U.S. government is doing stuff, though. I believe their technology is advanced. We don't know. Governments around the world, they're really good at one thing, and that's keeping their citizens in the dark. That is for sure. So can we really believe anything they tell us on this subject? I guess until we're visited by that enormous mothership hovering over D.C. I don't know about you, but as far as me, I will continue to question the Roswell incident if it's real or fake. I suggest that you do your own research on this subject. Until next time, I want to thank you for listening to That Conspiracy Podcast. I am your host, Randall Stevens, and I encourage you to go out into that night sky, take a look up, look into the stars and beyond. What's that light in the sky that isn't blinking and it's moving? Is it a satellite? Is it a UFO? Is it Southwest Airlines going to Phoenix? Who knows? Well, thank you for listening. I'm Randall Stevens. This has been That Conspiracy Podcast. Everybody be safe. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you soon.